Hello, good morning. I'm Catherine Sheen from Special Olympics Manitoba, and I want to make this video so that I can walk you through the process step by step as to how to register. Now, this particular video is registering athletes. Um, in order to register yourself on the portal, you must be an athlete that is over the age of 18 and must be able to legally handle your own affairs. So, for example, if you're renting an apartment, you can sign the rental agreement. If that is not the case, if you are younger than 18 or you do not handle your own legal affairs, then the person who does should be registering on your behalf as a family administrator. And I do have another video in this series to show them how to register, okay? So, having finished that spiel, let's get into the nitty gritty. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get you registered. Well, not you, actually. You'll notice that the names and information and stuff like that I'm going to put into this registration is totally fictional. But okay, so let's go. So we go into the portal.specialolympics.ca. And because you haven't been on the portal before, we click on registration. Okay. Your province. This is a system that's used for right across Canada. So we have to indicate that we are Manitoba. Okay. What can I say? Those are the names on both of the most that are on my desk today. Okay, so let's go through to December. And it's far easier doing it like this than it is like, actually writing it in, because sometimes the system will take it and sometimes it won't. So, okay, so we've got the date of birth in there and we're going to put in the email of, whoop. Now the email that you put onto the system is very important because that's one of the ways the system identifies you. So if, for example, you change your password or your email address, change character or carriers or whatever, contact myself at the office and I will change your email on the system. If your email and your name is not the same the next time you log on, it's going to say that, oh, you're a new person, and it's going to start you all over again. You'll have two identities on the system. The same as your name. If, for example, your legal name is William, but you're called Bill, and so this time you log in as William, but next time you log in as Bill, the system's not going to recognize you. And again, it's going to try making another person. My advice for the names especially is, if your legal name is William, but you're always called Bill, okay, then put Bill down. Okay, so those little lectures. Now let's go into, you are an athlete. So I'm going to click on athlete and I'm going to ask the system to validate you. Now what the system's doing right now is it's checking to see if you've been on the system before and whether or not it should just be sending you an email so that you can take and log in and connect yourself to what you had before. So, okay, so it didn't find me. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to re-enter that password or that email. Whoops, and again, I misspell it. Okay, I have to develop a password. Now this password. Whoops. There we go. This password is, I'm just going to make sure that, yeah, I do have the address is the same. Now this password has to be, as it says here, 8 characters long. It's got to have one special character or symbol. It's got to have one number, one uppercase letter, and one lowercase letter. So we're going to use capital NOUSE $1, 2. And over here we have to put in exactly the same password. Hit enter. Oh, see? So MOUSE $1, 2. There we go. I love the way the system will correct you if you've made a mistake. So, okay, so it says that the athlete's name is Logitech Staples. And so do you have guardianship over yourself? And we've already checked that. And yes, the fact is you do. So, okay, so we hit waivers. And it fills in all the information about me. Now I'm going to ask you, I'm going to briefly give you an idea of what these waivers cover, but please take the time and read the full waiver before you sign them. Okay, I don't want you coming back later and saying, oh, I didn't mean to do that. So having said that, none of them are scary, but the participation waiver is a waiver that, number one, you're going to be in a sporting event, you may get hurt. If you get hurt, we will take you to the appropriate medical care. And of course, while we're doing that, we will notify your emergency contact. You don't have a criminal record, or you're going to tell us whether or not you have a criminal record. You basically, like, you're not going to find us liable if, for example, you do have, you decide one day at track to be silly and jump from the top of the stands or whatever, then we're not liable. So, as I say, read it fully before you sign it, but in this particular case, I'm just going to hit yes. If you do not complete this waiver, or you say no, it will not let you go any further. Okay, this is the one waiver that you have to agree to before, if you want to be a Special Olympic athlete. Have you ever been charged or convicted with a criminal offense? No. Now, if you have been, let's say it was a DUI 10 years ago or something like that, you'd be okay. So, but there are some criminal charges and offenses that we would have to discuss with you as to whether or not you could continue on as an athlete. So this is just so that we would have that conversation with you, okay? Media opt-out, we love using our athletes. We're very proud of them, and what better advertising for Special Olympics than our athletes? So you may see our ads sometimes on the sides of buses, and they have Special Olympic pictures or athlete pictures on them, stuff like that. So here you're saying whether or not you would allow us to use your picture or your words or whatever in promotional videos. So or signs or that type of thing. So communications. Okay, so there's two different types of mailings we're going to say. Now, mailings can be an email or they can be in the mail, but one is just periodic ones that we do. We've been sharing with the athletes quite often what our stance is on COVID. So for example, the fact we sent out one recently that said, like, all of our athletes must be double vaxxed. we sometimes get gifts or something like that of tickets and whatever from outside parties. So we email athletes asking if they are interested in them. So this top one is for that. Periodic emails that we share with our athletes, okay? The second one is when we share information like the emails that we send out around registration time as to how to register and that type of thing. So, okay. The second waiver that you have to complete is the privacy policy waiver. Again, I encourage you to read the full waiver. And what it basically is number one, the acknowledgement that you may sometimes hear things about other athletes. We try not to. We try to have conversations where, like, in private, but sometimes you will hear information, and please do not pass it along. Secondly, a promise to you that when we gather your information, unless you've given us, like, for example, if we want to share your story and that type of thing on our social media, we will contact you at that time and get your permission. But just generally, the information that you give us on this system is only shared within Special Olympics. Okay. And the last one being the code of conduct. It's how we want our athletes to act as a Special Olympic athlete. And it's like, you don't swear, you don't yell, you don't say mean things that would upset another athlete. And of course, you don't take no physical contact with another athlete, no hitting, no kicking, that type of thing. Again, please read the waiver fully, because if you say yes, that means that I can come back to you if you do something and have a conversation, because you promised us you were going to do that. So please read carefully. Okay, so we've signed the waivers. Next step is let's sign up for a program. Now, I've only activated one program on the system, but this will give you an idea of what it's like. And I promise before we open for registration, there'll be more than one program on here. What I advise people to do rather than getting confused is your best bet is just Manitoba and put in the sport. Manitoba's small enough, we don't have too many of any particular sport. So even 5-pin bowling, which contains most of our clubs, there's only about 15 clubs. So you can scroll down and choose your club. But if you want to, you can, but what community they're in, what region they're in, or the specific club. But I'm just going to use sport. I'm going to put 5-pin bowling in because that's the club that I have active right now that I activated on the system is a 5-pin bowling club. I'm going to search. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring up all the clubs that meet that criteria that I put in. Well, I did tell you there was only one. Now, what you could do here, if you want to make sure this is the club you want, is you can click on this little thing beside it, and it's going to tell you that it's the Mozankle All-Stars, that it's competitive, and it's going to tell you that it's located at 1136 Main Street, which is, by the way, the Mozankle Bowling Alley. Okay. So, yep, that's the ones we want. So we can hit this little X in the corner and close it down. And we're going to add. So by clicking confirm to add the enrollment to your progress list, you may also enter notes that accompany your enrollment. For example, you can say, need this because this is 5-pin bowling. You can say that you need a ball ramp. Okay. And we're going to confirm that we do want to enroll for 5-pin bowling. Okay. So, and this is when, for example, if you now wanted to do a floor hockey, you could go up here and put floor hockey in, and then add one of those in. Because as you hit them, it's going to come down here and it's going to list them all. Now, if you look here and go, oh, floor hockey. No, I didn't mean floor hockey. I meant basketball. then you hit this sign here with the subtract sign in it, and that particular enrollment will disappear. Okay, so we've chosen our club. We're going to do member profile. This is where you tell us about us and your coaches about you. Okay, it scared me for a moment. So you can fill out these spots. Salutation. Most people nowadays don't even use the salutation, a Miss, Mr, whatever. When you see the little star here beside something, that means you must fill that out. So, and for sexes, we have male, female, or other. So I'm going to say other, actually. So then you go down to gender identity. And that tells us, what do you identify as? Regardless of what we see when we meet you and whatever, in your heart, what are you? So we're going to say that this person is a female. And we're going to treat you as a female then. Because our policies are that we treat an athlete as they identify. Okay, cultural background. We've got all the different cultures here. We're going to say this is a that Logotech is a multiple visible minority. I think we all know what that is. Then it's going to ask if you identify as Aboriginal. And again, as Aboriginal, are you First Nations? Are you Métis? Are you Inuit? Or you prefer not to answer. You can put that on both if you wish. Okay, you've given us an email address. Do you have another email address? Please give it to us here. Please give us home phone numbers, mobile phone numbers. So I'm going to put in a mobile phone number. Oh, that's the number at the office, but we won't tell anybody. Let's say, for example, you have a nickname. Okay, your real name is Bill, but you're always called Peter. And that sometimes happens. Maybe Peter's your middle name, that type of thing. So we're going to put, whoops, that was not supposed to happen. Okay. We're going to put Peter down. And that just allows us so that we know that if somebody, like, you know, if you would prefer to be called Peter, or we may ask you, do you want to be called Bill or do you want to be called Peter? Okay, primary language preference. I'm going to say English. Feel free to say French. We do have coaches and stuff like that that do speak in French. Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram. If you have, please put it in. We have, as of right now, we're not using them to contact athletes. But if we got enough addresses, we would probably start doing that. Okay. And we do have all of the connections to all of these as an organization. Communication, allowed or not allowed. Most people say allowed. Some people would only say annually. In other words, no, other than registration, no. We're going to say contact allowed. Languages. Well, what if Logotech also spoke Italian? Okay. And he can speak it, but not so great at writing it. Okay, so the next step is your address. And again, just remember, anything that has a red star beside it has to be completed. And I apologize for the slow um, uh, system today. Okay, so it's 145 Pacific Avenue. Province is Manitoba. So I've completed all the spots that have a red star on them. Great. Secondary address, you don't have to complete. What I would encourage you, though, if you live in the country and you have a post office box, please put the post office box in your primary address, because most mailing outs and stuff like that, we would send to the post office box. But then also give us your street address, because occasionally, like for example, during COVID, we had packages that we were sending out to the athletes. And if you'd send a courier, you cannot do it to a post office box. You need an actual physical address. So, so if you use a post office box in the secondary address, please put your actual street address. Okay. Next step. Okay, again, it's always going to tell you what you've already put in. So it's the system has given you a unique ID. Okay. You've not been charged with any criminal records. Criminal record check athletes don't need. Now this registration system is also used for volunteers, and they do need. So, so we're just going to ignore this, and we're going to go to medical information. Okay, your health card number, we actually have two numbers here in Manitoba. So we're going to put in, and of course, as you know, if you're getting medical care, whatever, you need both numbers. So we're going to put in the first 6-digit number, a space, and then the 9-digit number, which there, okay? The card is issued from Manitoba, and it does not expire. Some of the provinces' cards expire, so we won't mention that. Doctor's address. Okay, the system's giving me this name, so fine. My system is used often, so that's why it's offering names to me. But, and we're going to put my cell phone number in there. Okay. What medications do you take? See the star? You have to put in. If you have medications, write them in there. If you don't, you have to write the word none. Now, medical condition, other medical notes would be, for example, if you got dizzy easily when bending over, okay? Stuff like that might help the coaches be a better coach, because then they're going to limit the number of times that you bend over. And if you do bend over and seem a little wobbly when you get up, they know why, okay? But then there are actual medical conditions that, and I'm not saying dizziness is not an actual, but a named medical condition that you can also have. So here you add, and you can put in here that you also have asthma. Okay. And submit. And if you have another medical condition, you can add it in. Okay, medical forms, that doesn't apply. Disabilities. If you wish, you can put in here and tell us that you have autism or AD&D or ADHD or OCD or other disability, and then you can write in here what the other disability is. Totally up to you. We know all of our athletes have an intellectual disability. We don't necessarily need to know exactly what it is, but some people would like to tell us, so go ahead. Then we've got to this we need to know. do you have Down syndrome? Because if you don't have Down syndrome, you may not know, but there is a instability of the spine that can sometimes happen. And if so, then we've got to be really careful as to what sports and stuff like that that person does. So what happens if you have Down syndrome? Occasionally they will take and do x-rays of your spine just to make sure. So it asks when your last x-ray was and what the result is. Dietary restrictions. Again, this is a red start. Because if you, for example, are trying to cut down in the amount of sugar that you use, and you put it in here, and like, you know, sometimes you need a reminder that that's what you're trying to do and that type of thing. So, but again, if there are none, please write none. Do you have seizures? This is a yes or no. But if you do, what are they controlled by? If you have allergies, and this is very important to complete, because some allergies, remember, you're going to be in a club with a number of other athletes. So for example, if you have a peanut allergy, I think is the most recent, we have to make sure that all the other athletes in that club know never to bring a peanut snack, because we don't want anything to happen to you, okay? And if you do have an allergy, we're going to ask you details. Like, in other words, what are you allergic to? And how do you treat it? Do you carry an EpiPen? That type of thing. Other health devices, that's if you need a walker, wheelchair, CPAP machine if you need it for breathing. That's the type of thing that you would put in other health devices. But I think we've got everything completed here, so we're going to go on to emergency contacts. We ask everybody to give us at least one emergency contact, preferably two, because sometimes one won't be available. And again, we wait. There we go. That wasn't too long of a wait. So I am going to become this athlete's emergency contact. So that's my name. That's my phone number. Again, just because it's in the system is why it loaded so quickly. Relationship, I'm just a friend. Whoops. There we go. Now you can put in all of the email and all of that. You don't need to though, because believe you me, if something happens to you and it's an emergency and we have to get a hold of somebody, we're going to use that cell phone number. Okay, priority. And this is where I say that we preferably have two, because for example, let's say you live in a group home, but you still have constant contact with your parents. So who would we call first? If we were trying to get you help, would we call your parents or would we call the group home? So, but I'm Logitex only contact, so I'm going to click on primary. Okay, please ignore any noise that you hear in the background. This is a working office. Okay, I'm going to submit that.
Are we bringing empty boxes too? Is that, well, there's like a coffin size made over there. Really
okay, so member training. Don't worry about this. Our athletes don't require any specific training. Again, this is more for volunteers who are required to take some courses when they become a volunteer with us. But you can put in if you have any courses, or if you have first aid or that type of thing. Sometimes it helps. So now we go to participant profile. So this is the others, the things that we would like to have from you. Okay, so reason joined, again, that's mostly for volunteers. Shirt size. It's kind of handy for the coach if everybody's put in what size shirt they wear, and if they're ordering uniforms or that type of thing. Living situation. Do you live with your parents? Do you live in a group home? Do you live independent? If it's a group home, you can pull down this list that I've made. If any of these apply to your group home, just click on it.
Let me just bring that.
Intelligent disability, intellectual disability, of course you have one, because you have to, in order to be one of our athletes. We don't do transit passes here or speakers bureau, but we do have a course that you can take once you're a Special Olympic athlete. And that's a speaker course. And once you've taken that course, we will go in and we will change this no to yes. Okay. So now we're going to go to enrollment details. It's going to tell us what we enrolled in and that type of thing. So it says that you enrolled in the Mozienko All-Stars. And it says that fees may apply, but as you but this year we've waived all fees. You will have to, however, if you're in 5-pin bowling, you do have to pay the bowling alley lane fees every week. But other than that, we as a organization are not charging any registration fees or anything this year. But if we were, then you could go, next step would be payment information. And you can actually pay using a charge card online. So, and here's how you would do it. Let's say, for example, you were signed up for 6 different programs, but you only have the money to pay for 3 of them right now. You could click off which 3 it is. Up here in total selected, it will tell you how many, what that adds up to, and you can pay those 3. The other 3 would wait till later. Okay. Now, remember I said that you've got to make sure you get all the way through for the registration to take hold. That's the submit enrollment button. The minute I push that, it means that you have now, I have submitted an enrollment for Logitech in the Mozienko All-Stars. That does not mean he's been accepted yet. But what happens is the coach then looks and goes, okay, ooh, I'm full. So either the coach or myself will contact you and say, you know what, that particular club's full. Can we find you another club? Or if it's, let's say, for example, you had indicated you need a wheelchair ramp, and their particular bowling alley doesn't have a wheelchair ramp. So they may want to discuss that with you further. Can you, like, you know, but there's only 2 steps. Can we bounce your wheelchair down the 2 steps? Gently, of course. That type of thing. So the coach may want to contact you to ask further questions. Then you will be approved and receive another email that says that your registration or your enrollment has been approved. At that point, you're in that club, okay? Now, over here on the right-hand side, you'll see this blue area here that says my profile. This is all about you. So let's say, for example, you move. Then you can go into my profile and you can give us your new address. And my profile just takes you back to what you put in my profile. So you would just click on addresses up above here and change your address. My enrollments is, of course, that exactly what you've enrolled for. My clubs right now are not going to show your enrollments because they haven't been approved yet. If, for example, let's just say you paid for 3 of your clubs, but there's still 3 outstanding, you can go into my balance. It'll show you which clubs are still outstanding, and you can pay 1 or all of them, okay? Changing password is exactly that. However, remember the rules as that they must be 8 characters long and 1 capital and 1 little one. And then the last one, of course, is, add me as an athlete, which would be, of course, now, like, you know, a month later and you discover, oh, there's curling. I've often wanted to be curling. Well, just put in here, add me as an athlete. It'll take you through the process, but you've already added in like your name and stuff like that. So when you go straight to the program search and you find the curling club you want and continue with it, and you'll be a curling athlete too. And then of course we do log out. So I'm hoping that this has helped. If you have any questions, in the information I sent you, it not only gives you a list of the regional coordinators' contact information, but it also gives you the contact information for myself. Please feel free, and welcome aboard. Thank you.